3D Sonic games are a roller coaster ride with no seatbelts that have folks all over the place with love and hate for the series. Sonic Forces tries to combine the success of Generations with DeviantArt in an attempt to give fans what they truly want: personas. E3 gave us 3 sample stages of all of Forces gameplay types. Modern Sonic, who plays like he did in Sonic Generations, Classic Sonic, who plays kinda like the old games, except not exactly, and Create Furry, a gadget-wielding character who uses different Wisp power-ups to attack enemies. Modern Sonic is easily the most fun of the 3, for better or worse. For those wondering, Modern plays almost identical to how he did in Generations, coupled with a double jump from Colors in Lost World. Modern is a bit faster this time around, if you can believe it, but is hyper-responsive to every movement you make as you catapult along Park Avenue. Original the character is an interesting change from the Sonic norm. They don't feel exactly like Sonic per se, but the controls are mostly tight and fairly easy to understand. The flamethrower is very overpowered, and you can run through the whole level blazing everyone down. OC is also equipped with a grappling hook that lets them home in on enemies and kick their faces in. One thing worth noting is that Park Avenue with the Avatar is pretty good, but Green Hill was terrible. The level was slow and contained more than one confusing death that really broke the momentum in general. Your 8th grade dream insert won't light the world on fire, but rest assured, they're kind of fun. Throughout each playthrough, Sonic's friends are constantly barking advice over a communicator and just sort of there. A lot of what they have to say is plot-driven, but given that all Sega is willing to say, that Eggman has taken over, it's curious to see what exactly has them upping their communication with one another. The Switch version is noticeably worse looking than any other version, and while the rep wouldn't confirm, it definitely seems to be 720p and running at 30 frames per second, half as much as all the other versions. Oddly enough, no one drops rings when hit this time around. Instead, your rings are gone once players take damage. It's a surprising change that may throw players for a loop and increase the difficulty somewhat. The weakest gameplay is, unfortunately, Classic Sonic. There's not a ton to say about him, since it was a simple, albeit interesting little boss battle with Eggman. While Classic is slightly better than he was in Generations, he still feels very floaty and yet heavy at the same time. The momentum feels off, and you'll know exactly what that means if you played the other game coming, Sonic Mania. I don't have a ton more to say about Sonic Mania that wasn't already said in the previews video back in July of 2016. Mania had 2 new levels to blaze through: Green Hill Act 2 and Mirage Saloon. The second act of Green Hill may as well have been removed from the original trope altogether. The act takes place largely within the mountains of Green Hill, with zip lines connecting parts of the stage. The boss is an insane surprise of the Death Egg robot from the final boss of Sonic 2. He works very differently than he did in the original game and makes for a very exciting first boss. Mirage Saloon is a speedrunner's heaven. The drop dash works great here, and there's plenty of opportunities to burst through the levels at breakneck speeds. There's a mixture of pinball and casino zone-esque elements, while introducing plenty of new and interesting. The music for both levels is exciting, and all it's done is made the excitement for release that much higher. Forces may still have a thing or two to prove, but Mania has everything you could want from a game and so much more. Both games are releasing later this year.